everybody. This is Anna and Brian from Amata World podcast, and today we have our next guest for the creative episode, Matt Cartmell, who is a chief executive at the Music Technology UK. Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm really well, thanks. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
It's a real pleasure. And maybe can you give a quick introduction to yourself and your background so our listeners know your story?
Yeah, certainly. Well, thank you for inviting me on to have a chat. It's really nice to be here. Where do I start? I guess my career goes back to the sort of late 90s. So we're going back quite a way here. I came down to London from my hometown of Birmingham when I was 22. And I guess my first kind of career entry point was PR work. So working at PR agencies, and started my career doing technology PR and things like that. So working at consultancies, working with clients. I did a lot of tech PR, but did lots of other weird and wonderful client work as well. I worked for a sewage treatment company, which was interesting work. Also worked for a gearbox manufacturer. So kind of tried out lots of different industries, got to know lots of sort of fascinating little pockets of things going on in different kind of sectors of business. And learnt lots of interesting things about them. I was doing that for a while, but I think one of the things that can often happen when you kind of start your career is that you start doing one thing and then you might sort of come to somewhere like London where there's lots going on and get distracted with all sorts of other things that are going on. And for me, it was music was the thing that started to distract me. Started to go to a lot of gigs. And I started to review gigs as well, started to write reviews and get them placed in music mags and fanzines and all this kind of thing. And it was kind of an exciting time for music, kind of the early 2000s. So we had bands like, the whole kind of Strokes and bands like the Libertines in the UK and that kind of thing. And I started to do some band interviews. I started writing for a magazine called The Fly, which was sadly no longer with us, but was a big kind of free music magazine back in the early 2000s. And I was doing these kind of band interviews. And that was kind of my first entry point, I guess, to what was going on in the exciting world of music. And I did that for a while. And then I guess maybe my next pivot, and my story is there's quite a lot of pivots in my story where I kind of change tack and do something a bit different and kind of go towards things that interest me a bit more. And the next one was I started to get more interested in, I guess you'd call it news journalism. So I thought I'd get more involved in news, proper reporting, that kind of thing. Got a job at a local newspaper and started to report on, local news stories, knife crime and all that kind of stuff, knocking on people's doors, asking about, local crimes in the area and all these kind of weird and awkward things that you have to do when you're a news reporter on a local newspaper. And I did that for a while. That was really fun. And then probably the next kind of shift that I did is I continued with the journalism, but I moved forward to do trade journalism, so working at trade magazines. And it was PR Week that I was working for, which is a trade magazine focused on the PR sector. And I worked there on the news team, writing news stories about PR agencies and their hires and fires and all this kind of stuff, interviewing agency heads and all this kind of stuff. And then this led to my next kind of job, which was I got offered a role as communications director at an organisation called the PRCA. Obviously, and this is a trade association for the PR industry. And I guess this is my connection. A guy called Francis Ingham was the director general there, and I knew him well from the reporting work I was doing. And he offered me a job as communications director, so leading a communications team, doing press announcements, marketing, newsletters and news stories, also public policy and lobbying work, events and all this kind of thing within our team. So that was my kind of learning point about running a communications team, learning how to kind of take a message across, and obviously working at a trade association for the first time, and learning how to kind of launch campaigns on behalf of the trade association. And as I say, this was very focused on the PR industry. But there are lots of transferable skills that I learned from that in terms of how to campaign, how to launch different campaigns and different kind of approaches, how to kind of bring people on board with a message, and how to get new stories out there that actually resonate and so on. So that was great. But I worked there for 7 years, and I wanted to change, and I wanted to do my own thing. So I launched my own PR agency in 2019. So just before COVID, which is fantastic timing, I launched my own PR agency called Carter Communications. We were very focused on tech clients. So I was initially very focused on marketing technology, communications technology platforms, that kind of thing. But then I started to get more and more interested in music technology as an area of client work, and obviously this goes back to my earlier interest in working with bands and kind of my interest in music. So there was a kind of a nice resonance there with kind of stuff I'd done previously, and then became very focused on music tech, and that kind of led me to my current role. So went out to South by Southwest in Austin in 2023. I met a bunch of people out there, and we got talking about the idea of launching a trade association for music technology companies to kind of represent them, give them a voice, and put on events and bring people together, create a community. Essentially, there wasn't one existing in the UK at that point, so. I feel as though every industry should have its own representation, have a body to represent it. And so that's kind of what we did next. So about a year and a half ago, we launched Music Tech UK as the kind of trade association for UK's music tech community. That's kind of bringing us up to date. And I guess there's lots of different strands there in my CV. I guess you could say that there's a few different kind of themes that run through it all. I've always been very focused on music, very focused on tech, and communications is obviously something else which has been running through my career as well.
Wow, thanks for giving us such a great sort of detailed look into your past and your background leading up to today. So I just have a very quick question. For those who aren't familiar with the term, what is music technology, and what makes it different from, I guess, traditional music, traditional technology? What's this in between that they call music tech?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because it's an incredibly broad, and it brings in an awful lot of different things within that description. And within our membership, so we have over 110 members, all right across the board of music technology. And it gives you a really good snapshot of what's happening in music technology at the moment. And we've got everyone from production tools, creation tools that are enabling artists to kind of make music, produce it, make it sound good, mix it, and master it on the one hand. But then there's this other kind of element, which is distribution, streaming, fan engagement, technology that's helping people to get paid on time in the music industry and helping them to get paid for the music they've been created accurately. There's technology that's immersive tech to make gigs sound amazing, to make the visual experience of music, live music, great, as well as the sound experience. There's technology now which is helping to create new worlds for music. So imagine having a gig where you can not only visit it and attend it on in real life, but also attend it online, and having those two gigs happen simultaneously. So you can attend in real life at a venue, but also there's a crowd of people watching this gig in the virtual world as well. So imagine all of those things. So yeah, it is really broad. There's Web3 technology going on in this space. There's all sorts of things. And obviously one of the key things that's happening in music tech at the moment, like so many technologies, is AI is revolutionizing a lot of what's going on in the space at the moment as well. And that's right across the board, from music creation and providing a kind of almost a co-pilot to artists to help them create their art, but also it's helping them to get out there, create new fans, engage in new ways with potential audiences as well. So AI is definitely kind of shaking up what's happening in music tech at the moment.
And maybe can we dive a little bit deeper on your current project, what you're doing right now with this community? Because I think we met on one of your events connected. It was female music tech. So yeah, it's just like it was really interesting to hear like different stories. But maybe you can tell us a little bit more what we're currently up to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it was great. Thank you for coming along to our event as well. That was great. I'll talk a little bit about what the focus was there. But yeah, I mean, maybe if I sort of take it to the basics, Music Tech UK, we're a trade association, we're a community hub. And if you think about this as a kind of an ecosystem, the music tech sector is a kind of thriving ecosystem. We're providing the hub to that ecosystem, bringing together the startups, the scale-ups, big tech companies, investors, record labels, and we're the place where they can collaborate and find ways to work together and providing all those opportunities. I think ultimately our aim is to kind of create, really our aim is to ensure that the UK is kind of seen as a global leader in music tech innovation. That's our overarching aim. But within that, we want to be seen as the place to come for great music technology companies, the place where you can collaborate, learn, and work together. And providing an environment for that. We've got over 110 members now, so we've really grown in the space of a year and a half. It's growing incredibly fast. But not only have we got kind of music tech startups and scale-ups, we've also got universities. We've got over 15 universities who are involved bringing their kind of academic insights and bringing their students to our events. We've got a range of associate members, such as KPMG and D&B Group. They're coming along to get involved and kind of support this sort of burgeoning music tech ecosystem as well. So yeah, all of these people are kind of involved. And, I think a big part of what we're all about is kind of partnerships are a big part of how we can make this work. So, for instance, last year, we worked with an organization called Digital Catapult, which is helps to kind of support and help grow technology companies in all sectors to help them develop and grow. We partnered with them last year to build an accelerator program for music tech companies, and a bunch of our members went through that accelerator program and got involved in that way. And this year we've partnered, we're really proud to say, we've partnered with the Department of Business and Trade, the UK government, and we're holding a mission to LA in June where 10 amazing music tech startups will be going out to LA to help them, go on the trip, build their international contacts, build their international footprint, learn, grow, make contacts and all that kind of thing. So again, that's another great example of how we're kind of building partnerships to enable us to kind of spread the word and spread what we're doing a little bit faster. And then just to go back to what you mentioned before, we have a co-working space in East London called Home, where we do all of our events and all our members get to use the space, go along, work from their network and make contacts there. And then also, as well as that, we hold events there every Wednesday, and we do a bunch of stuff. It could be as simple as a panel discussion or round table, a learning opportunity, a networking opportunity, all this kind of thing. But one of the things that we did, in fact, the event that you came along to, Anna, was we launched a new program called FemTUK UK, which is our opportunity to bring together female founders in music technology to tell their inspiring stories, essentially, about how they got into music tech, the pitfalls, the problems, the challenges they faced, because everyone knows that women have to fight, twice as hard to get where they are in something like the world of technology in order to sort of get further, get as far as men. So there's a lot of really good, powerful stories there about inspiring leaders. We had four really inspiring leaders telling their stories. And the aim is to inspire the next generation of female-fronted music tech companies as well. So that's something that we're starting off. It started off as that event, but there's going to be more activities based around, helping to build music tech companies that are diverse, have female leaders and diverse leaders of all kinds involved in the music tech sector. So yeah, there's a couple of things that we're working on at the moment.
So, the music industry has been around for a very long time. I guess, can you tell us, sort of what are these sort of new companies, trying to address? What sort of opportunities are they looking for? What sort of opportunities are they trying to address in the modern music industry?
Well, I guess the opportunities they're addressing are varied and manifold, and they cross everything from helping artists to create their music and develop it, build audiences, and ultimately help them kind of with their goals. But I wanted to I think it might be useful to focus in on one particular technology that's obviously getting a huge amount of coverage at the moment, which is AI in the music industry. And I think it's important that we have maybe focus in a bit on that, because there's getting so much kind of discussion around this at the moment. And I think there's often can be very polarized, the way that AI is being discussed in the industry. On the one hand, it's thought of as by many as being kind of an existential threat to the music industry. To others, it's a transformative opportunity. So there's a lot going on here, and there's obviously a legitimate concern for the industry. Fair compensation for artists for the work that they're doing does need to be in place, and I think that's really important. But it's also really important to point out that there's a great deal of excitement about some of the AI tools that are available now and that are within our membership. So many of these tools can be used to kind of democratize music creation and distribution. They're available, and we've got lots of great examples of that. But my view is that I suppose creatives are always going to own technology and not vice versa. And I think that's always been the story of the music industry, that, tech comes into play and immediately creatives grab it, get involved, learn how it works, learn how to mess around with it and do things that you were never expecting to do with it, and then create something entirely new, which is all their own work. It's still creative, but it's something new and exciting and special. And I think AI is just another example of that, basically. And I think we're going to see a lot more interesting, exciting stuff that is going to come out of artists based on what they're learning from AI at the moment. But having said that, I do think that AI, the music industry needs more clarity on, licensing frameworks for AI-generated music. I think that's something that we're focused on. So we responded to the government's AI and copyright consultation a couple of months ago, as did many, many other companies. They received loads of responses to that. But in our response, I guess what we were looking to do was find a balanced viewpoint, because obviously for us, we have to balance the tech, the AI, those kind of companies who we have many in our membership, but also the music. We represent a part of the music industry as well. So it's really been interesting for us to kind of find what's a balanced view for the sector. How can we help to support those amazing startups that I talked about that are doing great stuff in AI, but also to make it kind of make the landscape easy for those AI companies to thrive and develop in a competitive global landscape. But also at the same time, we need to make sure that artists, labels are fairly paid for the works that they create, and that are trained and that are used to train AI. So that's a difficult conversation and one that needs to be had. We put forward some ideas on how that could work to the UK government. But I think none of these things will work unless we can get people around the table together to actually discuss this stuff. We need to see proper, realistic and understood conversations between AI companies, government, and the music industry to find practical solutions and deals. And I think only then can we find a way forward.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's kind of like, it feels a bit tricky to unite different camps and just so they can talk to each other without fighting. So,
That's challenging.
Yeah, it is. But I want to go back a little bit to the partnerships that you mentioned. Are you working as well with bands, artists, directly as well? So you kind of uniting them as well, and the record labels. And is it easier to connect to them right now compared to what you used to do when you worked as a journalist previously?
Yeah, so there's a lot more work to be done here. So I think that one of the things that we're going to be focused on is creating events where we bring together artists, labels, and we can have discussions and topics focused on their point of view on these kind of things, but also hear them play. we're going to be doing a range of activities actually around that for South by Southwest London, which we're really excited about. So we're going to be doing some fringe events for South by Southwest London, which is taking place in the first week of June, where we're going to be having artists playing, we're going to have discussions, we're going to bring in the rights holders and labels as well. And we're going to be discussing many of these kind of topics that we've talked about around, what is the future of AI? How can that be used in practical ways to support the music industry? How can we kind of, create deals that work for everyone? And how can artists actually make the most of using AI in practical ways as well? So yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really important discussion that we need to have. And I think there's more of that kind of thing going to be coming from Music Tech UK.
It's really exciting. Like, especially South by Southwest London, I think it's the first time it's coming to London this year. So
that's right.
Super excited for everything there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, do you have any sort of advice right now for any sort of people getting into music and what sort of they should look out for? Like, especially with sort of all this different tech out there, like, it might be very confusing for people who just want to focus on the music. So what's your advice for them, like stepping into this field?
Yeah, I mean, it's a complex world. I think that, maybe if I think about kind of the way I got into music and all the other places I got into, was I just kind of graduated towards things that I found really interesting. What I did was I kind of built a CV that doesn't make a huge amount of sense. I moved from one thing to another, that just because it interested me. I've done everything from PR, communications work, trade journalism, trade associations, and music technology, and so on. So I part of my kind of thinking about these things is to get out of your depth and actually explore things. You're always going to learn something, and it's always going to feed into your understanding more broadly when you come into situations. I found kind of a unique intersection for what I do, which is music's part of it, technology's part of it, and I guess communications is the third part of it. And that's my kind of triangle of kind of things that I'm interested in. And so maybe everyone should have a think about that and kind of think about, what's your unique intersection of different areas, and everything that you do should sort of live in that triangle of interests for you. But then you can move around within it, learning about all the different places that you can find in there. So I think that's a cool thing to do as well. Don't be afraid to, I've had times when I've kind of halved my salary going into different jobs, particularly when I went and did some journalism work, which is notoriously badly paid. So that's happened to me when I've pivoted careers. So don't be afraid to do that. Often the most, poorly paid jobs can be the ones where you learn the most. So I think that's something to have a think about as well. But also one thing, and this is a bit of a shameless plug, if you are kind of looking for work in the music industry, there's great communities, trade associations like Music Technology UK are a great place to actually come along and learn about what's going on in the sector, connect with people right across the ecosystem, actually kind of find opportunities to work there as well. So I think, there's a lot to be said for those kind of either the informal kind of communities that are in the industry, and also there's more formal kind of trade associations that are bringing people together as well.
I think just like it would be nice. We will probably connect to you and leave the details about the music technology, so they can just directly go to you and ask maybe some questions, or even come to the events on Wednesdays. So
that would be great, Anna. Yes,
yeah,
please.
So we need to grow the space and connect people more. Otherwise, it's just if it's separated into different camps. This is all how all the arguments and all the misunderstanding starts, because they're not talking to each other. But and I think just I want to move to the hopes and predictions for the future of the field, and especially the creative industries and your own project. Maybe, I don't know, you can choose your own timeline, but just if there's something even scares you, and you want to raise this point. So yeah, I
think I've got a lot of hope for what's going on in kind of music in general, but also more broadly in the creative industries. I think that I remain totally committed to the idea that music is one of the greatest forms of communication that we know. And I'm not concerned that AI is going to replace it or create any kind of great displacement of what's going on with artists. Yes, there are problems that need to be fixed here. And I think that practically speaking, we can find those solutions to those problems. But I actually predict that we're going to see a great renewal, in fact, in the way that we view artists and those creating great musical content in the face of AI generated content. I think we're going to be more recognition for what humanity can create in an artistic way, in that way. So I remain very kind of positive about that. And for Music Tech UK, we're going to continue to keep doing what we're doing. We're all about providing a hub, this ecosystem place, bringing people together, and then ultimately kind of building the UK as this kind of global leader in music tech innovation. I remain, very motivated with what we're doing in terms of being able to bring those collaboration points together. We've had some great kind of case studies already of how our members have come together, forged partnerships, actually created new products together through working together, a meeting via Music Tech UK. So they've got a number of case studies like that where they've created new products. We've also helped our members to kind of meet investors and gain investment, sometimes for the very first time, to get investment for their companies, which is, really proud of that as well. So I feel very positive about not only what is possible in the music industry and more broadly the creative industries, but also what Music Tech UK is going to be able to achieve in the future as well. And I think we've got to remember, it goes back to my original point, that I think that ultimately these tools are here to support artists in the creative industries. They're not about replacing creativity. It's about actually providing the tools that are going to help them to kind of continue to develop and build their art as they go forward. So yeah, I do feel quite hopeful about everything.
Nice, and I feel like that's probably a good place to sort of end things, but I'd like to leave the last minute or so just for yourself to leave any more last words for our listeners. And, if people want to find out more about, yourself or the work that you do at the trade association or whatnot, like how can they get in touch? Where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, I'd love to speak to anyone that wants to get involved in Music Tech UK. Drop me a line. We're a really inclusive organisation, so it's really all about kind of, whether you're a music tech company or you're just interested in music technology. If you're, in the more broader music or creative industries, we'd love to chat and see if there's a way to get you involved. Come along to one of our events and so on. Drop me a line, on LinkedIn. Drop me go to our website, musictechnology.uk, and drop us a line on there, and we can get talking. But yeah, love to chat as many people as possible.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. And yeah, we'll include all of the links into the description so you can quickly connect to Matt. And thanks for inspiring all of us. I don't know, it's kind of, yeah, I think it's just like we do need to communicate better. I think that's one of the lines from today. They're just, especially in the AI era.
I completely agree. Yeah, I think there's more work to be done to have more effective communication, not only in the music industry but everywhere, to kind of try and make things work a bit better, I think.
Absolutely.
Great, thanks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And thanks to all the listeners and video watchers for staying till this far. And yeah, have a great day.
Yeah, have a great day. Bye.